80, what, 81.
81? Well, hey, I like to live to be 81.
80.
And for 81,
Well, I don't know if you would or not.
oh, I don't know. 81, you can't complain really.
I believe I'm 82.
When were you born? What
Yeah.
year?
11.
1911? Okay, yeah, you'll be 80, 82 coming up.
80. Well, already been there. June 24th. That hasn't been very long ago.
Yeah?
I can't
You're
remember that stuff half the time.
You're
That's my trouble when you get my age. I know things, but it'll disappear while I'm talking to you. If I'm telling you about one thing, you know, just your mind isn't as keen as it used to be.
That's to be expected.
Nothing wrong with mine, but
Well-
it's just the work that way.
Well, I don't know. In my business, particularly with dealing with artists and musicians, you could many times get their minds going on ideas, and they don't have any logic or sequence to them. They just simply come out like, in literature you call it a stream of consciousness or something. And that to me is a characteristic of some minds.
Mm-hmm.
It's not necessarily a deficiency, it's just a matter of the way it functions. Hey, but basically what I wanted to do and record on tape was some of the events and occupations that you have had that
Is
make
that running now?
Yes, running now. And keep eating. That's gonna get
keep on eating.
yeah. You can't walk out here and you left with a cold breakfast.
No.
All right?
Yeah, sure, that's fine. It's kind of warm in here. I went in there before I go and turn the heat up a little bit. You know, I get cold. I don't have any meat on me.
Well,
And I come out here, you know, and was talking to you, all that got a little hot in there.
oh yes.
So,
I find I woke up one morning to 47 degrees. Well, as cool as it gets in Tampa is 77 degrees. I could see, and we have 2 blankets on our bed up there.
mm-hmm.
We're living out in town with Jerry's parents. They still have their summer home up here on the hill. And they live within maybe 3 miles of us outside of Tampa. And they go back and forth. And they want to sell that up there, but I'm not interested in them selling. I'd like very much to come up here and simply camp in for a month, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, but you spoke originally of driving a Greyhound bus. When you left the farm and went to make your own way, what was the first job you had?
I don't know, let's see. I went down to Washington. I just driving the Greyhound was probably the first I did
Really?
for a while.
And you spoke of driving express between New York and Baltimore or something,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, they had them buses, you know. It was they had I don't know how many different buses. They had some new ones, you know, some older ones when I first went down there. And so I always tried to get along pretty good with them, you know, with the company and do things right.
Mm-hmm.
But I had later on. Then they got a new bus out. I drive them little what do they call them? I forget what the small one, you know. But they were mean. If you get on the curve going downhill, you know, see the engines in the back of all them things.
Mm-hmm.
And if you was going downhill a little bit fast, you had to watch yourself. And
swing.
it'd skid on you, you know, if you're going to make a turn, especially if you had some people in the back of them and not much weight towards the front. And you hit your brakes a little bit, why, he wanted to go on. It didn't make any difference where you had the wheels turned.
I can
And
imagine.
I had a lot of trouble with that, with it, you know,
Mm-hmm.
with them kind. But then later on, I got to taking these trips and getting pretty good runs, you know.
Mm-hmm.
About always running 2 buses, one behind the other, you know, to pick up extra. I mean, if it was a busy time, like a
Holiday.
holiday, 4th of July, go say, or something like
Well,
that.
how long did you work for them?
Oh, I was down there, I guess, I only stayed down there about year and a half or something like that.
Really?
Maybe 2 years.
Well, keep eating. Yeah, that breakfast is going to get cold.
Of course, Shirley had some trouble, you know, and the doctor said that they thought I would come back up. We should bring her back up to the mountains. It was hot down there.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Never
yeah.
heard of air conditioning then.
You're right.
Yeah, in the house at all.
Say that
So-
again.
So we decided then to bring her back up here, and we did. No, she was sick down there, and she'd lay deep till the dust would settle on her eye, on her eyelid.
Wow.
Not the eyelid, but on the eyes.
Wow.
And they wanted to do this operation, but they didn't know how to do it.
Hmm.
So anyhow, they finally kept her well long enough, and then they said they thought, for her sake, it'd be better if we come back up to the mountains where they had fresh air.
Yeah.
And we did that then.
What did you do when you came back?
And I came back up here.
Mm-hmm.
What did it do? I think,
Now there for a while you had a barber shop.
well, yeah, I was a barber for a long time, but I didn't care much about that. I didn't well, I did a good while too, but not too long.
Because you used to cut my hair
Yeah,
as a kid.
yeah, I had a barber shop a good while. I had one over at Aurora.
Yeah, right? You spoke of Aurora.
Yeah,
And then you, there for a while, owned and built cabins up there on Backbone Mountain.
yeah, we I went up there and built them, and that's what
Some of those cabins still stand.
oh yeah, there's a couple of them there, but they've changed it around a good bit.
Yeah. The interstates put those places out of business. I noticed Chimney Corner is now closed.
Yeah.
And the Backbone Mountain Inn struggles, but the Table Rock Inn is gone. You know, the old shelter.
Yeah,
You wonder how those buildings lasted. Like,
that old trash is still around there.
yeah, like they would burn in a minute. I bet they were like tinder boxes, and there were no fire escapes. And to live in them and have one stand that long, is in itself an accomplishment.
Yeah.
Well, you've had some very interesting events. You spoke once of having 2 deer heads mounted on the wall at the inn there, and you were, and as a hobby, were into taxidermy. Did you mount many heads, or?
Yeah, I did a good bit of it. That was while I was there on the mountain.
Mm-hmm. Are those heads still there?
I don't know where in the world they ever got to.
Was
They
that-
had them, had a little shop across in the woods there, you know, from above the house. We owned a little house on, well, you know, where it was, you know, where the inn was.
Mm-hmm.
Then we had a little white house across from it.
That's right. Yes.
And then up back of it, used to have always had a shop. I about always had a shop of some kind.
Mm-hmm.
And I went up there and that's where I did my taxidermy work in there.
You had a shoebox once of photos, and as I recall, one photo you had dealt with a very sporty car with the spare tires up on the front fenders and all of that.
Yeah, boy, I wish I had that back now.
Oh, I go to antique
That was
cars.
an old Dodge.
Was it?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I go to antique car auctions at Zephyr Hills north of Tampa.
Mm-hmm.
And they do it twice a year, and they sell over 100 antique cars a day. One dealer sold 14 cars of his own inventory. A lot of rich people in Florida are having financial troubles. CDs and things like that. Very low interest rate. My savings account pays me 3%, a checking account pays me 2.7, and the cost of living is 4.2. I mean, I'm losing money by keeping money in the bank. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I've invested it, but it still sits there. It's just, well, ride it out, I guess. My point is, they were giving away antique cars. Nice one. The most expensive car that day I was there, it was in October, was about a 1967 Chevrolet red with a white top. It was a convertible. It went for $17,000. And they were selling Lincolns and Cadillacs of the 50s and 60s vintage for $5,000 or $6,000. Well, you could buy that car and run it for a year or two and junk it and still come out ahead. You know?
No, I had that old Dodge. And I guess I sold that one time and then bought it back again.
Really?
It was fancy. You saw it, didn't you?
No,
Oh.
you just showed me pictures of it.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know whatever happened to them. I wish I had them.
Yes, I do.
But you know that thing was a sedan, green and white, top kind of, above. And it had a spare wheel on each side.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And everything was chrome, you know, that had chrome mirrors set up on the wheels,
Yeah.
up on the outside wheels.
Mm.
And you could adjust them where you wanted them, you know, and that was your mirrors.
That was a stylish car in that day.
Boy, you better know.
Huh? People turned their heads when you drove by. Oh, great. Well, I don't have the money to invest in antique cars. I got a 2-car garage, but that's about the extent of it, so to speak. Well, when I knew you were in the hardware business there on Alder Street, and Ralph Pritz was in business with you.
Firestone.
Yeah, right. And that was a nice little association. I had fond memories of that toy land that you had up above Jim Nally's bar.
Yeah.
Oh, gee whiz. And like you used to say, sometimes the people going to Jim Nally's bar would get the wrong door and come into the hardware store, you know. But that was funny. Just being a part of that. Of course, in the 50s, life was a lot different, but there was the Christmas carols. You had the speaker out on the streets in the snow, and people in a very good mood. And it was just a very pleasant association with people because they always left happy, and that they had some gifts. And certain things stick in my mind. One was a time we had closed the store on a Saturday night. It was Christmas Eve, and somehow a lady from Cullen had asked for credit, and her credit was bad, and you told her no. You had to tell her no. But then you just got to thinking about it, and we all jumped back into this Buick, this gray Buick Special that you had. We drove back into Oakland, loaded this thing up, and went to Crellin, and looked up this unemployed coal miner and his wife,
yeah, I remember that
and
now.
the children, and we simply loaded the table with gifts. And what struck me more than anything else was an oil lamp that they were using. It was on the kitchen table. And it was just basically a very warm experience, and it had a very profound effect upon Shirley. She says, I'd even give up my skates for them. You know, she's in love with these ice skates and things like that.
Yeah.
That's the kind of Christmas that I remember as being worthwhile, so to speak. And I never forget, you came in with a story once. You used to sit like this at the tables and tell stories. You were a pretty good talker. And one was, and correct me if I'm wrong, when I first got to the store for about 2 or 3 months, you had a secretary that worked for you who was a tall, thin, attractive woman. And she was married to a guy named John, who was a portly little fellow who counted.
Carrying the gun.
Yeah, he was a funny little fellow, and he worked for Dusix, and his job was counting fruit. Now, I got the impression that he wasn't very swift. You know what I mean? He was just a nice, quiet, likable guy. But the girl was a very quick, attractive, business-like person. Am I correct?
Yeah.
And
I can't think of John.
what was
His
their
name's
last name?
John.
And they lived
After Red House, wasn't it?
on the farm of Knepp's.
Yeah,
in the
back
old
on the
building?
back, way back there, down over the hill.
His brother's farm, really.
Mm-hmm.
And the brother was kept by Ben Knepp because of his arthritic condition, was in bed for
Yeah.
years,
Mhm.
and died while we were in Oakland. But my point is, when people met these, and I was only 13 years old, when you met these two people, you'd say, well, what do they have in common? Here is this rather benign little fellow with this very tall, attractive girl. You know, how did this union come about? And I think she told you, because I guess she could sense this, and this how people would react to it. And she once said, when I was a senior, I was sort of the senior class fatso. She was a very large, obese woman who made up her mind to lose weight and get an education and make something of herself. And she says, I married John because John was the only one who would take me out. And when she became attractive, other men wanted to date her.
He always went around carrying the knife.
He did?
Yeah, oh yeah.
And I thought, that was an unusual brand of loyalty. You don't meet many people like that in your life, who are committed to something, not so much on an emotional basis, but on a rational basis. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Just the dedication, hey, when I needed somebody, they were there, and because I don't need them now, I'm not going to abandon them. And I've seen that 2 or 3 times in my life with men, businessmen, whose wives would lose their minds, or their health would fail them, or they would become crippled. We had a wrestling coach once whose wife had a hemorrhage and a brain, and she just was a vegetable in a wheelchair. And he went to all his matches. He pushed this woman around this wheelchair. Anywhere he went, she went. And that had a profound effect upon these kids who were wrestlers. You know, talk about, hey, really being, and this was in a world where, you know, it was a jet set, it was a very wealthy community. Yeah. And school teachers were sort of the middle of the slot. Most of the people in that community, income and education, were above sort of teachers, sort of dentists, doctors, what have you. But of all the lessons that guy could teach those kids, that was never discussed. But it was a lesson, you know? I never forgot that. Mm-hmm. And you had similar influences on me one time. I know one time I got mad and I was cursing. And you said, Dee, we don't use that language around here. And I never swore again. In your house, anyway.
You don't do it now, you know.
No, just don't get into that. I've been known to blow my cool with certain people who can get to you. But in my business, you never let it known that people ever got to you. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It was just, you always had to be above that. Because I found if you're going to manipulate these people and control them, you had to first have control of yourself. And if you lost control of yourself, you lost it.
Control.
Yeah, right. Well, I look fondly back on those 5 years because basically those are very important 5 years, and I dealt with a lot of people in that same time span in their lives. And well, the forces working against you are much stronger today than they were then. You know? Mm-hmm. It's just different. Well, hey, you were sort of a handyman with wood as well, and I kept admiring this little ornate shelf that you told me that you made with a jigsaw, and you took this jigsaw blade out, I don't know, something like 120 times and all that.
Oh yeah, I don't know whatever happened to that. Had a lot of deer going
Exactly.
Up.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
right. And that was a piece I really admired. And also, you were pretty handy at making. There on Liberty Street, you put a Santa and the reindeer on the roof once with a spotlight.
Yeah.
And you bought the plywood and this paper you cut out and the jigsaw and all it did and put it up. It was a very fancy job. You were just very creative.
I think they still have those deer down at the
Really?
town motel.
Wow.
I'm not sure.
Interesting.
Pretty sure they do.
Hmm. Well, that's all. You still have your gun collection?
Huh?
Still have your gun collection?
I give it to Steve.
Oh, did you?
Mm-hmm.
But it's in the family.
Oh yeah.
Okay, good.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you had, when I knew you had a Browning shotgun, a 30-30 maybe, a 30-06, other things. You also carried onto your seat of your car, when we went that trip west once, a .22 pistol.
Mm-hmm.
He still has that?
Yeah, I got it back here.
Oh, you have it here?
Don't let me show you that after this.
Wow. Okay. Did you get into dueling pistols and velvet cases and all of that?
No. I had one real good one.
Hmm.
It had a velvet case,
Mm-hmm.
but
I still have the rifle you gave me for about my 14th birthday.
oh, is that right?
Yeah, and the hunting knife. You gave me a hunting knife
Mm-hmm.
as well.
Oh, what was the rifle? What kind?
It was a Stevens from the store.
Oh.
It sold
Mm-hmm.
for, in those days, as a single shot, bolt action Stevens. And you even engraved the stock on it. You had a little wood engraver
Mm-hmm.
and engraved the stock. Yeah, I still have it. I haven't shot it in years. But, of course, in those days, every kid had a gun. And you didn't use them on one another. We did dumb things like shoot rabbits and well, rabbits are right, but birds, that's dumb. Kids do dumb things.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, is Carol Miller still around?
Yeah, she still lives out here on the old Deer Park Road.
Really?
I see him
Hmm.
every little bit. You know, him and I is the only two left out of our whole gang.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I know every Wednesday afternoon you shut the store down and you go fishing or hunting or something. And I recall going quail hunting in Savage River Forest once.
Grouse and
Yeah,
rimneck.
yeah. And then we went up there to the Buffalo Coal Company territory above there. He wants deer hunting.
Yeah.
And occasionally we go to some of these farms and go squirrel hunting, fishing, trolling at night. I recall, I'll never forget trolling at night. And one time John or I, one of us did it, didn't pull our reel in fast enough, and we got the lines on the propeller of the outboard motor. Haul it up, flashlight, try to cut it out, and what have you. Those are the days.
Yeah.
And is Carol still pretty active?
Pretty much, yeah. You know, he's only got one eye.
That's right.
He did have, you realize that. And he had trouble here back a while, and I don't know. I don't know what he didn't know what the trouble was. They got him all cut up. He had a bypass 4-way.
Wow.
Had that done, and then he had to have his gallbladder taken out. And they just cut him all full of holes. They didn't have much left to him, but he's still going.
Wow.
Getting along pretty good. They didn't think he was going to make it there a while, but he's come out of it now and doing pretty good. I talked to him, I believe, the day before yesterday on the phone.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Now, Arvy, your brother, is he still alive?
Oh, no, he's dead for, I don't know how long now.
Let's see. His wife and daughters, are they still in town?
His wife lives down at the lake. You know, he built a house down there for all of them.
Oh, really?
Edith and I were down there the day before yesterday, I believe it was. But she wasn't home. But,
Wow.
She can, I talked to her every little bit to see her.
Now, she remarried, didn't she?
No.
Edith did?
Oh, Edith, yeah, she did.
Okay.
I thought that Sally.
Yeah.
No, Arby's wife never did.
Had two cute little daughters. They were sort of preschoolers, and I recall them. And I recall a little joke Arvy once said about his daughter was running through the yard singing, "Eat carrots for me." She kept singing this song. And she had a little altered it. It was a hymn called "He Cares for Me." And she had it as "Eat carrots for me." Typical of kids. They're cute like that. Okay. Well, when it came to interests and hobbies beyond a job, so to speak, you were into taxidermy, photography, and a small stint there with movie making, engraving, and there for a while, and you had that motel across the street, you were making little billy clubs as a hobby, selling them.
Did I give you one of them?
No, but you were saying, I started off and bored of making these, and my customers liked them. Now I'm selling them to the customers who came in.
I got one of them here yet, hanging in here. Keep
Oh.
it with the bed.
Yeah, why not? Okay, and now you're repairing clocks, and you're still carving. I'll get a picture of those before I leave here.
Okay.
I got to go here pretty soon. They're going to eat their big meal at noon up there on the hill, and some people have come in from Parkersburg, West Virginia, and Terre Haute, and what have you, and about 5 people came in last night from Wilmington. So there's a lot of people up there sleeping around on the floors, and I just sort of begged out. They went for a break down there in Swallow Falls, but they'll convene, and it'll be very nice. When you get older, I think you value families more, and you're willing to drive these distances to keep these families together. And my family now numbers 37, and surprisingly, they've done quite well for where they started. As far as becoming lawyers and accountants and things like that. Wes is still living in Washington. Ken is down there. Nancy's moved to South Carolina. I've moved to Tampa. Mother never liked the idea of a family scattering that much, but what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Okay, well, you have finished breakfast. You haven't had your juice yet.
No, I'm good.
Now, you cannot spray
I'm
for
gonna set
these.
this one back in.
You cannot spray for these fruit flies because of your emphysema?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
On account of that, I don't have it. I
Okay.
never did finish that, did I?
My father is very short-winded.
Oh, is that right?
Now, he's 87, but he still gets out and does his gardening and wants to drive his car. that's the big question. You hate to be so unkind to say, Dad, give me your keys, because someday they'll say that to me. And if you're not prepared for that, that can be rough, right?
Yeah, now, I wanted to tell you about that, the emphysema thing. I started to, didn't finish it. But anyhow, I taken this test, and Chris was with me. That was Steve's wife. And she carried the oxygen tanks for me. So I finished it up, and I said, well, how did I do? Any good? And he said, oh, I think you did pretty good. And I said, well, I didn't think I would. Maybe I did. And so we started then after we left there, and I was going down the hall in the Morgantown Hospital, Ruby Hospital, to Dr. Gutman's office. He's my myasthenia gravis doctor. So we got down about halfway, I guess. This doctor was in there where I took that test, on my lungs, for the emphysema. And he come along behind it and walked along behind me. He said, where are you going with that oxygen tank? I said to Christian, I said, well, I got it here for Herb. And he said, you could plug that in anywhere along the hall here, if you need it. And she said, yeah, I know that, but she said, we'll take this, keep it along here anyhow. And got down a little bit farther, and he said, why don't you just throw that thing away? I said, well, what do you mean by that? I could be scared to death to do that. He said, your emphysema is gone.
Really?
Yeah, and you don't need oxygen at all. It's perfect.
Wow.
And how about that? Now I said that had to be a miracle.
Yeah,
to
to
do
say
that.
the least.
And I'd taken one of those tests about 5 years before that,
Mm-hmm.
And it was good, but I could take it good then. The only thing is that they showed me where smoking had did a certain damage to my lungs. I got the paper in my pocket that she gave me
Wow.
on that. And she said that can't ever be repaired. But we'll do everything you can so it don't get any worse. It won't get, and, so
Interesting.
I thought, well, if the heal one, they could heal the other, but for some reason, we don't know God, just what His plans are and how to do things.
Yes.
But anyhow, they
Well, a
took
lot of
that
kids-
and they said it's entirely gone. And he said we was all very much surprised and happy.
Wow.
So that's been, I guess 6 months ago.
Oh, really? Just
And I
recently?
haven't had I have one in here that people has the oxygen business, brought it here. Said, well, he'll leave one here just in case I ever need it. I said, well, but I'm not going to need it. So I get along just wonderful without it. It seems to be entirely gone.
Well,
And
you're lucky.
They told me it had to be a miracle.
Well,
So,
and there are cases, you read of them in publications where the doctor says the person should be dead, or there's no reason to explain, no logical reason to explain the progress they've made medically. And it's basically some other force working on these bodies that bring them back around. I think when it comes to cancers, you read of this now with cancers.
Well, I listened to that 700 Club a lot. They have healings on that. I don't know if you listen to it or not. Maybe you can't get it where you are.
No, I don't see that on my. I'm not much of a TV watcher.
I'm then on channel 12 here. And
Wow.
it's on every night. Saturday night is the one.
Well, right now, Herb, I better turn that off. Before I do, I want some pictures of your wood carvings, and I better get back up on the hill. And let's see right now for next Monday, if I pick you up around 9 or 10, when's the best time?
Well, not before 10.
Okay.
That'll give me time to get all this medication and everything.
Good. And get back over there and drive around. Stop somewhere for lunch if you want to. Can you eat out?
Yeah, well,
Okay, good. And
I,
I'm like you. I got a dietary restriction, but I can live with it pretty well. I just have to avoid cheeses and all that stuff. The
have
milk.
what?
I have to avoid, the fats, the butter, all meats, what have you. That's basically a very simple cholesterol problem. It's a matter of discipline,
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to die young, eat away. If you want to hang around, discipline.
Yeah.
That's it. Very simple. Okay, let me turn this off temporarily.
I want to show you that gun though.
Oh, good.
I got it in here. Did you want any pocket knives there with it or anything?
Yeah, why not?
And couldn't tell. I didn't know which one was him.
Really?
Those- Yeah, that good. I
Mm.
wish you could see that picture now. He's down where he was, where the farm was.
Yeah.
Henry and I used to plow that little sulky plow down there when I was a kid.
Mm.
But they come up and they built a real fine home right in here.
Wow.
Real nice. And they had the thing about done. I mean, studying, the Moon Boys built it. And
Is that Dave? And
Dave and Ed Moon.
now he's the minister at the church here, isn't
Yeah, uh-huh.
he? Wow.
They used to work for me, when we built the Oakmar over here.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's when Dave got his arm fast and that tube couldn't get it out.
No kidding. Huh? Wow.
But anyhow, they moved up there and built that. I still got that and I keep it here for both of them.
Oh, yes. I'm shooting it right now. I just turned my camera on.
Well, what do you want me to do?
No, just stand there and speak. But right now you're sort of saying you're pretty good health and that Sue and Shirley and Steve take pretty good care of you.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, I found Sue a rather very kind person when I knew her, and I'm sure she hasn't changed.
No, she hasn't.
And that's good.
Of course, she's
All
getting
right.
a little older too, like all of us.
Oh, yes, right.
Bound to.
Well, I better pack up my gear and head back up on the hill, Herb. So it was nice talking with you. And
Charlie. Thank you very much.
What do you have this morning?
I'll tell you. The investment managers for the Give a Little Back to Sun City Fund are Mr. George Baxter, who is the president of the Community Foundation of Greater Tampa, and Sun City Center President Reverend Downs Spidler Jr., who is chairman of the foundation of the Greater Sun City Center area.
Reverend Spidler, would you like to say a few words?
Stay over with you, Reverend.
Oh, at least I asked, right?
Oh gosh, he's a preacher.
It is good to be here on this great occasion. I am the chairman of a foundation for the Greater Sun City Center area. The foundation is designed to promote the philanthropy of the people here so that we may do two things: have permanent dollars to continue to improve our community life and our neighborhoods, and secondly, to be a good neighbor to the people who live around our community. We have a little over $1 million in assets from our 2 years of existence and $8 million in pledges, bequests, trusts, and wills. This money is permanently invested. The income and interest is used to benefit our life and the life around us. And so we house the Give a Little Back Fund as one of the funds that make up this foundation. We will be working with the Community Association Board to approve the grants that go to enhance, refurbish, replace, maintain these marvelous facilities. I can't think of a better way to give and to make sure that every dollar I give is permanently invested and that that dollar will every year produce income that benefits the life of all of us and will benefit the lives in the communities that surround Sun City Center. So I think we are very, very fortunate not only to have the foundation, but to be a part of the Give a Little Back Fund. It is a great opportunity to say thank you to this community. I am a second-generation Sun Cityan. My mother and father moved here in 1964 when there were just very few people. And because of this community, their lives have been greatly, greatly extended. Their joy has been immeasurable, and their life has been uplifted by their residency here. So it is good to be a second-generation Sun Cityan. It is good to have my mother's check in my pocket to contribute to this fund, as I'm sure she will do every year, in deep appreciation for the many kindnesses and the many facilities and the wonderful neighbors. Your foundation encourages you to support Give a Little Back Fund. Your foundation will hold your money in absolute honesty in order to help this community continue to be vital, alive, important, meaningful, and good. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend.
The Give a Little Back Fund is for lovers of Sun City Center, of course. We all learned that today. But how are you going to tell the lovers from everyone else?
Well, you've seen the beautifully designed lapel pin. That's going to be worn by those who contribute to the Give a Little Back to Sun City Center Fund. And again, I guess we have a picture on the screen there of what this very, very beautiful new lapel pin looks like. Now, those persons who would like to see what the pledge is like, look on the back page of the brochure that you received when you came in the doors today.
Now, as we call the names of the presidents or representatives of the various clubs here in Sun City Center who are in attendance, who are giving a pledge to the Give a Little Back to Sun City Center Fund, we want you to stand and be recognized. Please hold your applause until after all the names have been called. We're going to start out with the representatives or their presidents. Okay. Mary Lou Nance from the We Care Ladies. See her. Marion Armstrong. Dorothy Primisberger, Needle Pointers. I hope I haven't butchered your name. Mary Malloy Miney, Panhellenic. Paul Somerville, the Men's Chorus. Forrest Smith, the Lawn Bowlers of Pebble Beach. Ann Lavinia, Middle Lakes Association. Eula Cownell, that might be Kane, excuse me, Rangers. Ruth Anderson, the RN Club. Gordon Whitney, the Fairview Property Owners. Joe Hall, Sun Lakes 1. Helen Robinson, the Nine Holers. Louise Lascola, Crafts and Things. And now some of the checks that we've received. Julianne Cycle and Mr. and Mrs. Phil Lang. These are the first two donors. Thank you so much.
Also, Jane Miney, president for the Panhellenic Club. Nick and Mick Milano. Donald S. Judd. Walter W. Fishback. John D. Perkins. Henry S. Faircloth. Cornell C. Clark. Marjorie M. Clark. David Meixner. John L. Carney. Norman E. Baker. I believe we have just a little bit more here. Am I good, Susan?
A few more, that's right.
Is it me?
Yeah, I think
All right.
so.
Marilyn Bob Gallicano, L. Rex Landis and Betty E. Landis, D. F. Lane, Robert H. Saxon, Dallas B. Tuthill, Margaret Rowan, and Nicholas Milano. We thank you all. And I think, again, it's important to stress one more time, and just hearing this afternoon, I can't wait to retire and move down here.
And that all those contributions are tax deductible.
That's really the key. They are all tax deductible. So if ever there was a win-win situation, it certainly sounds like that right now. All right, shall we continue?
Yes, with all the friends and neighbors who signed the pledge or made a cash contribution and who are wearing a lapel pin, please stand up so the people around you can see that you love Sun City Center. Applaud?
Yes, indeed.
I think we have an addendum coming.
Yeah, we also failed to mention a very, very important gentleman, the head of the Grants Committee, who has worked so very, very diligently and many, many long hours, John Perkins, and we thank you as well, by all means. Thanks, John. And now, it is time for you to give a little back.
Tables have been placed in the back of this hall, in the back of the room, for those of you who wish to sign a pledge, make a tax-deductible cash contribution, or volunteer to work for the Give a Little Back to Sun City Center Fund. You will be helped by the Men's Club volunteers, and they're back there, as you can see, against both walls.
And Leslie, I would just like to say from off the script that I truly am quite sincere when I say this is a very, very beautiful community, and to hear about the plans and the terrific leadership that you have, and also one of the best bands I have heard in years. It certainly has been a great pleasure to be with you today.
You have been a wonderful audience, and Bill and I have enjoyed being here and for your hospitable gestures and being a part of your day. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you all very much.
said yes, that the impingement and more contributions, and we have